Hello, welcome to Community Matters. I have the honor of being your host for the next 2 hours. My name is Becky Steinbrunner, and I am happy to be here in the Santa Cruz Voice studio, nestled within the Satellite Workspace and Digital Media Center. It also holds the community television studios, and we're happy to be in this space at 325 Soquel Avenue in Santa Cruz. It's located between Ocean Street and the beautiful San Lorenzo River in Santa Cruz. If you're looking for a clean, quiet, and very secure place to do some remote work, maybe you work from home, but it's a little too noisy there today, or you want to have a small meeting with a client and you don't want to bring them to your home, Satellite Workspace and Digital Media Center is the place. Come check it out. It's at 325 Soquel Avenue in Santa Cruz, where you can rent space by the hour, by the day, by the week, or by the year, whatever your needs are. I highly recommend it. Very, very good place. Today, I would like to dedicate my show. Oh gosh, I thought I could do this. To Jondi Gumz. Jondi passed away last month, and I knew her from many interactions in the community. She was a reporter for many years for the Santa Cruz Sentinel, and then left there, and then took a break, and then became the editor at the Times Publishing. It's a great, small, independently owned paper that has free, very good publications for Aptos that comes out twice a month, Capitola SoCal area that comes out once a month, and Scotts Valley, which comes out once a month. And Jondi was the editor for all three of those papers. She was a very kind person. She was always willing to listen, and she was not afraid to dig in deep and get the facts and verify things. I learned a lot from her, and she won many awards for her good reporting, investigative reporting work. She had a passion for getting to the bottom of things. I worked with her on a project that actually won an award for her reporting, and that was during COVID, when I was working with a group from my community in Aptos regarding the problems of all the people coming to Nisene Mark State Park and parking along the road and obstructing emergency vehicles. We formed a little task group of people. Some of them live within that area. There are some private residences that are located along that road before you get into the heart of Nisene Mark State Park. So we were able to, and Jondi was there at the table always, we were able to get the ear of state parks, the Central Fire District Fire Marshal, and we were able to get some improvements, restricted parking, a little more patrol, and it made it better. It made it better. Jondi wrote an article about all that work called the park that people loved nearly to death, or something like that. And she reported on this action that the community took in partnership with the local authorities that really made a huge improvement for public safety. And she won an award. Well, sadly, Jondi is no longer with us, but I want to dedicate today's show to her. I'm sorry, this is really hard. And thank her for her good work. Thank her for her good heart, her professionalism, her good work, and caring about the community. Her services will be tomorrow, memorial service tomorrow at 2 p.m. at Regeneration Church, 1500 Green Hills Road in Scotts Valley. So may she rest in peace and blessings to her family. So today's show is dedicated to Jondi Gumz. So I th- I think we'll have a very fun show today, very interesting show today. The first half hour, I wanted to spend talking a little bit about Jondi Gumz, but then jump into what is happening with the battery energy storage project application in Santa Cruz County. It is moving very quickly. I want to just touch on some of the developments within that. And then at 2:30, we are going to have the honor of a former Aptos longtime Santa Cruz resident, Miss Kris Kirby, calling in and talking with us about how things are for her. She pulled up her roots a number of months ago. I don't think it's been a year yet, and moved with her husband and menagerie to Grants Pass, Oregon. And it's been a while since we've heard from Kris. I want to just bring her on today to, again, if people out if you're out there listening and you're one of the many people thinking about leaving California, there are a lot of people, and just not quite sure. I like to have Kris come on and tell us a little bit about what it's like and that there's life after leaving Santa Cruz. She has become very politically active up in Grants Pass, Oregon, and today she will be talking about, among other things, the lunch that she had yesterday with one of the three young men who, in a few years ago, tackled a would-be assassin in the train station in Paris, and literally saved the lives of many. She had lunch with him yesterday. He's from Oregon, and she'll be telling us a little bit about that and about Alex. At 3 o'clock, our second hour after the news break, we're going to be honored to have two longtime residents from Watsonville, Ilea Buliach and his sister Marta Buliach. They are the model citizens in my book. They are active in their community. They speak up when things are not right. They question what is going on. And when when officials just will not listen, they put the resources toward legal action, and that gets the attention of those who are not following the rules, not doing things the way it should be done. And I really want to thank them. So today they will be joining me by telephone, talking about Watsonville City Council's first homelessness strategic plan. They were there. I saw them I saw Ilea at the September 23rd Watsonville City Council meeting. He was leaving. I was going in for something else and was late, so I didn't have a chance to check in. But they'll be talking with us the second hour. And I really hope you will listen in, because they are a wealth of knowledge and are very learned in proper government processes and public, the transparency and accountability that we all should be expecting of our local government and beyond leaders. That's the second hour. So right now, I would like to give you a brief update on what is happening with the Seahawk battery energy storage application that's at 90 Minto Road in Watsonville off of Green Valley. It is next to a large PG&E substation, also large next to a very densely populated area, subdivisions, large affordable housing communities, and next to College Lake, just a bird's eye flight from the Santa Cruz County Fairgrounds, the county's official evacuation center in disasters, and we've all seen that. So this project is in application process with the Santa Cruz County Planning Department. The developers, New Leaf Energy and Sequoia Energy LLC, submitted the application last December, and it has been perking along. What has happened recently in terms of the County Board of Supervisors and this project is, first of all, there are two other sites that the County Board of Supervisors identified, along with the 19 Minto Road location in Watsonville, that could be also developed for these large lithium battery energy storage projects. The one of those other two is on Freedom Boulevard at the PG&E substation there across from Aptos High School. And the third one is on Houts Drive, that's Houts Drive, next to another PG&E substation directly adjacent to Dominican Hospital and Dominican Oaks Retirement Village. The only one in permit process that we know of right now is the one at 90 Minto Road. And it is being handled by a local permitting consultant, Swift Consultant. Mr. John Swift used to work in the Santa Cruz County Planning Department, so he knows the ins and outs. He knows a lot of people, and he has his own business doing this now. So it is in permit process, and what happened with the Board of Supervisors is that they, on August 25th, decided to wait 1 year before they were going to look at this new ordinance that would set forth the permitting conditions for facilities like this. They decided to wait 1 year to consider that because they wanted more information from what happened at the Moss Landing Vistra battery fire, and they wanted more information from the Santa Cruz County Commission on the Environment, who has been holding public meetings with people they handpicked to bring in, and some of them are lobbyists for the battery energy industry. So they wanted more information about that, and they voted to postpone looking at all of this for a year. That caused the developer, New Leaf, the one for Minto Road, to start leaking out to the press that they were thinking of going to the state California Energy Commission to seek what is called an opt-in certification, allowed under a piece of legislation known as AB, Assembly Bill 205, that allows them to do that and kind of just sidestep local jurisdictional discretion. What it does not sidestep is environmental review, and that needs to be made clear, and here's why. If this were to continue going through the county's planning system, we have no real guarantee that the Seahawk Energy project, which will be over 300 metal storage containers filled with flammable, explosive lithium-ion batteries, we have no guarantee that it would have anything more than a cursory level of environmental review. I have seen this happen. Many of you, here's an example. Many of you are familiar with the huge development that has now just been completed in the Aptos Village area. That had virtually no environmental review. It had a little bit that determined there would be no significant impacts of all of that. And so it was given what's called a negative declaration. So there was nothing to be done to really worry about, they said. And that is very possible that could happen with the New Leaf Energy Seahawk project. Through Public Records Act requests, I have seen communication among planners in the county of Santa Cruz that they are quite worried that the developer is saying they really don't think they should have to do much of that. If the developer goes to the California Energy Commission, it is a requirement that they do environmental review, fully environmental review. And we are seeing this. You can research other projects that are going to the state in Southern California. The Caballeros project in Napomo, that one was only left to be done at local level, and it has minimal environmental review, whereas the Compass battery energy storage project further south down in San Juan Capistrano went to the California Energy Commission, and they are in a process of a full-on environmental impact report with a lot of public review. So at first I didn't think this was a good idea. I thought, oh yeah, we want to maintain our local control. Well, it's maybe not such a good idea. Think about that. Think about that. The California Energy Commission requires publicly noticed hearings. Santa Cruz County does not have a good track record for enforcing that. In fact, the New Leaf project developer did have a public meeting before they filed their application last December, but their postcards went out to very few people. Certainly none of the people who live on Minto Road, none of the people in the Diamond Estates subdivision immediately next to the project, none of them got a postcard. But the postcards that did go out had no time listed when the public meeting would be. So I don't trust the county, and I don't think it would necessarily be such a bad thing if it went to the state. Anyway, the county, of course, is very worried about this. They have people, the likes of Central Coast Community Energy advisors, who are worried about losing local control. And they are pushing, in my opinion, the County Board of Supervisors to rush this along. And that is what's happening. We have just learned that the Board of Supervisors will most likely be voting on the new battery energy storage system on 90 Minnow Road on November 14th or November 18th. They will be voting. We've heard that from people in the planning department and, in fact, a county supervisor. So it's moving along quickly, but the question remains, who is writing this ordinance? Again, going back to Public Records Act information, I'm seeing the developer is writing this ordinance. And so it is important for us to contact our supervisors and let them know we want a moratorium on lithium batteries. Those are the ones that are flammable and explosive, and there are other options out there, and that's what we want. It is incumbent upon us to demand of our supervisors that they hold town hall meetings about this, that they convene a panel of people who are experts in other than lithium battery. The problem with the recommendations coming to them now from the Commission on the Environment is, first of all, they have not been publicly divulged. The chairman of the commission wrote by himself all of what we learned from those 3 public workshops. They were never brought to the commission publicly. They were never vetted by the public. They did not include the public's input, which was substantial. And now the recommendations are going to the Board of Supervisors, and we haven't seen it. An ad hoc committee will draft it, and it will be there. I've got a couple of calls. Let me take the first one because it's someone who wants to talk about Minto Road. Are going Hello? To the Board of Supervisors. Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Becky, can you hear me?
Yes. Is this Nina?
It's Nina, yeah.
Hi, Nina. Thank you for calling in. Let me take the first one because it's someone who wants
I'm going to turn off.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to turn the sound off because it's interfering.
Thank you. And then
that's better.
I've
Sorry.
also got my next guest. So we've got about 3 or 4 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, I only wanted to say briefly that I really want to second what you are sharing with the public in that it's really incumbent on I'm collecting my thoughts here. It's incumbent on the county staff to actually write an ordinance that takes into account the circumstances, the local circumstances, and protects the public in the unique circumstances that are attendant to the lithium BESS, especially utility scale, industrial scale utility BESS. That is their legal obligation. They have to write an ordinance like that. And I know that I, along with many other people, are becoming very concerned about whether or not that kind of ordinance is actually going to be written. So bottom line, what I wanted to say is when the county says, or Supervisor Hernandez states to the public in newspaper articles and in other venues, we have to keep this local. It's always best to keep it local. We need local control. Well, what's the point of having local control if there are no protective safety regulations in the ordinance? It doesn't make sense. Then this becomes a hypocrisy, basically. And I want to hope that the planning department is actually working on an ordinance that will include protective regulations. I also want to encourage people to visit the website that our group built that is working to inform the public about these developments. The website is called StopLithiumBESSInSantaCruzCounty.org. On it, there is going to be a list of specific things that need to be in an ordinance like this, and then people can look at that list and start calling and writing the supervisors, the planning department. The lead on the ordinance is Stephanie Hansen. She's good with emails and with phone calls, so everyone needs to start writing and citing specific things that need to be on this ordinance. They need to hear from us. There's also a model ordinance from Solano County that we're going to post on the website that people can look at as well. There are other counties that are doing this responsibly. And again, I want to hope that our county will act responsibly, but if it passes what Chris Domhorst, the chair of the Commission on the Environment, called just the overlay ordinance that allows us to move forward, if that's what they're going to vote on, if they're going to vote on the existing draft that has absolutely no safety or restrictive regulations on it, then this becomes a very sad affair indeed.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Give us the website name again, please.
Stop Lithium BESS in Santa Cruz County.org. And I just want to say we are working to be heard. We are responsible, deeply caring, civically aware and conscious people who want to work with the county constructively. And want to offer them what we have discovered in all of our networking and our conversations with other county staff and with other county groups.
Yes. Thank you, Nina. You've done an amazing job. And I want to let people know there is a Board of Supervisor meeting next Tuesday. That will be October 7th in the basement of the 701 Ocean Building in Santa Cruz. That's a good opportunity to attend in person or via phone and make your voices heard. Getting things in writing is very important. But if that's not easy for you to do, if you want to look them in the eye and say what you feel, you need to do that. That will be at 9 o'clock on Tuesday in the county building. There's only one item on the agenda, on the main agenda. It's something about changing the ordinance regarding abandoned, wrecked, and inoperative vehicles. This may be having to do with lining things up for the homeless. I'm not sure. But Nina, do you have anything else you'd like to convey to the listeners regarding this battery
No,
project?
it's okay. I'm watching the clock. It's like 2:32 and you have another caller. So I just want to thank you. Thank you for letting me share and just really, really reaching out to people to speak up. It's now or never. Again, if they vote on an ordinance on the initial draft that has no safety regulations in it whatsoever, this becomes a terrible mockery. In our wonderful county, our progressive county, this would just be a terrible, terrible sham, a terrible mockery.
Yeah.
They have to do their job, and they have to be encouraged to do their job and their obligation.
Yeah. They're under a lot of pressure from the battery industry and 3CE and the developers. Tremendous amount of pressure. So we need to make our voices louder. Nina, thank you for your good work. You've done so much. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for calling in.
Take care.
You as well. So that was Nina Adino. She and her husband Greg started the grassroots group here in Santa Cruz County, and she built that amazing website. Check it out. Stop Lithium BESS. That is B as in boy, E-S-S, Sam, in Santa Cruz County. And she has also linked arms with the Never Again Moss Landing group. Their website is neveragainmosslanding.org, and there is a wealth of information there too. I want to encourage you, and this will be my wrap up here on this topic, and then I'll bring Kris Kirby in, who's patiently waiting on the phone. Next Wednesday, October 8th, will be an event that you should go to if at all possible. I've just learned it will be recorded and made available, but this is being put on by the California Art and Science Institute. And next Wednesday at 5 p.m. there will be an event about what happened at Moss Landing. Moss Landing meltdown. If you'd like to hear more about that, that was the focus of my guest last week on the second hour. The first hour was Scott Smith talking about the results of his Blue Shirt Justice League sampling there in the Moss Landing area. And listen to last week's program. It's available on the santacruzvoice.com website. Scroll down under current shows to where you see all the listing of the shows. Click on Community Matters and you'll see it there. So it's really, as Nina said, it's now or never. This is a very serious thing. And these battery energy, lithium. It's the lithium technology that is prone to fire and explosions. And we've got to speak up. All right. With that said, thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Nina, for calling in. I'm going to bring in my next guest, and that is Miss Kris Kirby. Hello, Kris. Can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Becky.
Hello. Gee, it's good to hear you. Thank you for.
Good to hear you.
Thank you. Thank you for being my guest here today. And
Of course.
there are two things I want you to talk about. First of all, touch upon leaving California, resettling, and how that's all going. What were the greatest challenges for those who are thinking of following in your footsteps? Maybe not to Grants Pass, but maybe so. And then you had lunch with an amazing hero yesterday. So those are the things I'm hoping you'll talk about, as well as other things you want to discuss in your active life in Grants Pass, Oregon. Introduce yourself for people who do not know you.
So my name's Kris. I grew up in Saratoga, lived in Aptos for 27 years, raised 4 boys over there, and, had a pretty good life, had a business, had a sign shop. And we found our dream house up here in Grants Pass where my father-in-law happens to live. And we packed it all up in 45 days last year. We've been here now just over a year, which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
And I know, it goes by fast. And I have 0 regrets for doing so.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm not saying Oregon is the end-all, be-all, because we have a crazy governor here, Tina Kotek. And she's just as bad as Newsom in my eyes, maybe even worse. But she's not running for president, so that's a good thing. It's very interesting. Southern Oregon, we're about an hour over the border, so past Medford, where there's actually an international airport, which is nice for people that fly in to see us. We love it. I mean, we live on the Rogue River, and we've settled in nicely. I have a good group of friends, and we're always doing things, always got something going on.
Yeah.
We've joined the Elks Club, which is funny to me. And now we're going to start cooking one night a week there.
Oh.
It's funny how they suck you in, but yeah. We have 7 acres. My husband's still working remotely from our house and gets done about 3:30, and this property is a lot of work because we have a lot of nice lawns, and it's just great. I asked him the other day, I said, do you regret that you have so much to do here? And he said no. So thankfully he's still on that side of the answer for the question. But it is a lot of work.
What made you decide to pull up stakes and leave?
Well,
what was the straw that broke your camel's back?
I got to say the worst thing was the traffic. How much time I wasn't even traveling that far, but if we wanted to go to Costco or go down to wherever, the traffic was the worst. Here, there's 0 traffic. 0. I mean, if I am going to be somewhere, I know it's going to be 9 or 10 minutes. They are replacing all the we live on a road along the river. It's called Lower River Road. And they are replacing all the telephone poles right now with metal poles because of the fire hazard.
Oh.
And that's the only traffic I've run into since I've been here, because you're waiting for the flag guy to, let the other people go, and then you go. But the traffic was probably the worst thing. I also, I had a radio show with Kristen Koloshoff for 2.5 years called The Elephant in the Room. And being a conservative there is like banging your head against the wall. So up here, the Republicans are the majority, and that's really nice. So it's refreshing. But there is a group. Have you heard of Indivisible?
Yes.
Oh, my God. They're huge up here, mostly in Ashland and Medford, and now they're trying to take out 2 of our commissioners, who I'm actually friends with both of them, and it's the day they got into office, they got emails saying after 180 days, I guess you have to wait that long, we will be recalling you. And sure enough, they're trying to get signatures. And that indivisible is probably our biggest threat up here.
Wow.
So beware of that. That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, 45-day close on our house down there. We got a good, chunk of money for it. And that was good. And I don't know, we just changed up our life. I now have 17 chickens. I had a good garden going. Yeah, I get 10, 11, 12 eggs a day. So I give eggs out to everybody. We live on the river, which is a whole different thing. I see fishing boats go by every day, or hunters or kayakers. We now have some really nice kayaks that Mark got us. So when it's hot, because it does get hot up here, we go kayaking at least once a week. That's fun. I don't know. It's just a different life.
Nice. What would you do? What would you recommend to someone who may be listening to you and thinking, "Wow, I'd like to pull up," but what would you recommend to someone that might be on the fence about leaving California and relocating?
I say do it. I mean, we didn't see California getting any better in my lifetime. I mean, I'll say I'm 66 years old, and in 20 years, is California going to turn red? I don't think so. And that was a big deciding factor for me, because even though Oregon is very, crazy with Portland and all that, and I don't know if I really did my homework that well. It just happened to work out. My father-in-law living here was part of the reason. Not that I even see him that often. I don't know. You just have to, if you feel it, do it. I mean, you only live once, right?
Mm-hmm. What would you do differently in the way you pulled up? It moved very quickly for you. What would you do differently?
I wish I'd cleaned out my house before we really had to clean out my house. But, living there for 27 years, there was a lot of stuff. And Goodwill got a lot of stuff. I didn't do a garage sale. I should have. I don't know what I would do differently. We just made it happen. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I love it up here. I have a really good group of friends. And, this is an interesting thing for me, because I was raised a Catholic and never really went to, I went to church when I was a kid occasionally, but I am now, they've signed, because there's people who are Christians up here, and I'm actually doing a Bible study class.
Wow.
That is, I know. How different is that for me? And I'm actually enjoying it, learning a lot. I figure, the more we learn, the better, right?
Yeah. It sounds like
I've never read the Bible.
And it sounds like you've made some very good friends in your new home. That's important. Was it difficult to do? Was it difficult to meet new people?
Well, I found them through the Republican Central Committee, and that helped. But it's funny, because I came in, and there was a bunch of women that were involved in this group that were really like mean girls from high school, and they still don't like me for whatever reason. Some of them I've never even spoken to. So that's been an interesting thing. It's like they were threatened by a new person in town. I don't know. But I do have a good group of friends. They do First Friday here. We're going to go downtown, which is a quaint little suite downtown tonight. And they're doing some art thing with chalk on the sidewalks. Artists are doing. So there's a lot of functions up here. There's a lot to do. My one son, Matt, sold his house in Aptos, and he's moved up here. He has a full-time job working at a great company, and he loves it up here. He bought an e-bike, a mountain bike, and he's with a bunch of guys doing a mountain bike thing once a week, and then he goes and rides by himself. There's hiking, there's the river, there's fishing and hunting, there's concerts all the time. I don't know. There's so much to do here as compared to down there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Wow. It's weird.
Well, maybe it's just that you have you're not sitting in traffic, so you have time to go do things too. Now
plus I'm not working too.
Yeah,
even though I was asked today to run for the county clerk position that does the elections.
Oh wow, Kris!
I know.
Wow.
I know. I'm like, I don't really want to go back to work full time.
Yeah. Wow.
So I don't know.
Wow.
Mark's on the budget committee for the county, which is a good thing, and he's helped with that. So I don't know. I mean, I'm doing the Elks Club now, cooking on Wednesdays. We're having baked potato bar on Wednesday, which that's like a whole crazy thing too that I've gotten involved in. I don't know. We figured we got to get involved and give it a try.
Yeah. Well, you've certainly jumped in with both feet, and you met some very interesting people. Now, tell us about your lunch yesterday with who I consider a hero. The young man who... Go ahead.
Yes. No, I think it was 2015. So Alex Skarlatos, he's also a representative in the House here, so which is another friend of ours. His name's Dwayne Yunker. Is also, they're just in different areas. We did a big fundraiser for Dwayne at our house last week. That's the kind of house we have with a huge backyard and a big patio and the river. And Dwayne raised a lot of money, but we had Senator Cliff Bentz was here. We had an Congressman Cliff Bentz. We had all kinds of mucky-mucks here. It was very interesting. So I'm getting to know those people. Wow. But the ex-chairman of the Republican committee called me yesterday and said, will you come have lunch with Alex Skarlatos and I? And I thought, heck yeah, I will. So we met at this restaurant in downtown Grants Pass and sat for 2 hours and talked to him. And man, was it interesting.
Wow.
He was just appointed the deputy caucus leader of the Republicans like that day or the day before. He's only 32 years old. And it was he's kind of like J.D. Vance, but not at that level yet. Mm-hmm. That's what he reminded me of.
Did he tell you the story of
We did not. We didn't even talk about it.
Oh, wow.
Because there's so much more to him. He just got married 10 days ago, or 11 days ago now. Yeah. He owns 250 acres in north of here, about an hour. And he has a ranch with cows and sheep and goats. No, he doesn't have goats. He wants goats because they eat so much of the stuff. But 250 acres, and he and his wife trains horses for barrel racing.
Oh.
I know. I learned a lot about him that isn't the typical stuff you'd know about him. Uh-huh. So he asked me if I do a fundraiser, or Mark and I would do a fundraiser here for him also because it was so successful for Dwayne. And I said, well, I'll talk to Mark, but more than likely maybe in the spring we can do it. So he and I were texting last night. I'm like, how do I have this guy's phone number? But I do.
Wow.
I know, isn't that crazy?
It is. I was reading about the incident last night after preparing for today.
I told you.
It was quite amazing that he and his two friends just did what they had to do, put their lives in danger, and knocked this guy down. He had a lot of ammunition. He had a knife and started cutting on them, and they saved a lot of people.
I think about 100 people were on that train. So I saw a trailer for he and his two buddies were in a film that Clint Eastwood directed, and they actually played themselves, which is interesting. And I watched the trailer. Mark had an Elks Club meeting last night, so I haven't watched the movie yet, but we will. But it's called 1517 to Paris. So there's a movie that Clint Eastwood directed. So he's met Clint, he's met Trump, he's met a lot of people, and he's 32 years old.
Wow. Has he always been interested in politics? I mean, he served in the military, so he has, some care for his country. What did you learn about him that surprised you?
He said, I said, what led you to this? Because he's so young. I mean, I have 3 kids older than he is. And he said that he's only had 2 jobs. One was the military and one was Costco. Is that funny? He said somebody heard him speaking, and they said, oh, my God, this guy's outstanding. And he really is. He speaks very well, and he's very nice and considerate, and, he has all the good characteristics. So, and he's really good at what he does. We were talking about I asked him, what can we do as citizens? Because Oregon's pretty screwed up because of Portland and the stupid governor we have. And he said that we need to get people that are in offices vote record and maybe start a website or something and publicize that, because that's what should decide if we're going to vote for them next time around. Because these people, he said, you can't believe how many people say one thing and do another.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting.
That's isn't there somebody, an organization that already does that? I feel like I've seen that.
Yeah, he said partially, but he had a whole different take on it. So we'll talk about it again. I need to think about it and think what we could do. Because Oregon does things way differently. Like in Santa Cruz, there's supervisors. Here we have commissioners.
Mm-hmm.
The Republican Party, PCPs, which are precinct captain persons, are a big deal here. We're down in Santa Cruz or California, they're not a big deal. Mm-hmm. At least when I was on the Central Committee down there. PCPs are a lot of what happens up here. Everything's very different. Recalls, we're trying to recall the chairman of the Republican Central Committee here because he's just not my cup of tea. Well, there's a lot of reasons. He's not even around. He's back overseas a lot. He's not even here. They're trying to recall our commissioners here. You never hear of a recall down there.
Mm-hmm. Well, except Gavin Newsom, different. We tried to do that.
Well, yeah, but I mean at a local level.
Yeah.
Our commissioners were sent emails the day they got into office saying, we're going to recall you. They hadn't even done anything yet.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. So we're trying to fight that. And they lie like crazy, and that part of politics is the same. But it's just things are very different up here, just how things are done.
Uh-huh. Do you think for the better or just different?
Just different. It's just they do things different, and I have to go, wow, we didn't do that kind of stuff down there. I mean, like any of the supervisors, have they been tried at these recalls?
I tried to recall Zach Friend when he was in 2nd District County Supervisor.
That was before I knew you, too.
Yeah, I tried to do that.
But not like here, not like it's just almost expected, sadly.
Wow. Well,
I don't know.
Do you think that's bad? I mean, it keeps people on their toes and keeps them working.
Well, these guys they're not recalling or trying to recall our commissioners for any good reasons, just because they don't like them. They're it's a whole different. It's ridiculous, really. But the reasons, it's all feelings, and they don't like they got rid of they kind of did what Trump did with DOJ, where they got rid of all these management positions, people in management positions, because they weren't doing their jobs. They were just, hanging back, collecting their paychecks. So they got rid of them, and none of the departments have suffered because of these guys being gone. And then they moved somebody else up that deserved it, and these people are angry about that.
Wow.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, it has been interesting. And we've gotten to know these guys. One of them was at our house, I don't know, till 10:30 one night. We just sat outside and talked, and we've learned a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I will say we're going to Washington, D.C. on Halloween. Well, it happens to be October 31st for 9 days. And Kristen and her husband are going. It's Kristen, who I used to do the radio show with. And then our representative, Dwayne Yunker, and his wife and his chief of staff person, and Mark and I, and my older son's going, and another friend. So 10 of us are going for 9 days, and hopefully we're going to be able to get into the White House. Hopefully they'll figure out this closing stuff, and that'll end. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
What's your purpose, your main purpose for going?
Just because I've never been there, kind of a bucket list thing, and I figured we need to do it while we can still walk that far.
Yeah. Well, it's a very interesting city, to be sure. My husband Dave and I spent a winter living in the Washington, D.C. area. I worked for a rental interior plant company, and I walked around all around DC to all these big offices, watering plants and caring for them. And we were there.
Wow.
We were there when Mikhail Gorbachev came to town, and that was a very
Wow.
interesting thing. Yeah, so amazing museums. They're all free. Make sure you take
Right.
advantage of that. And
Yeah, yeah. We've got a schedule of stuff. Dwayne has some connections, and then Kristen has some connections through her congressperson, and then our Cliff Bentz, who was at our house last week, he's got us into some stuff. So, and we're going to meet. Do you remember Kelly Johnston, who has one of those blogs on what's that one? Anyways, he used to be a secretary of something there, I forget now, but they're gonna spend Monday with us and take us to the Capitol building.
wow,
So we
excellent.
have lots of connections. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
really looking forward to it.
wow. Do you think you would have done
Yeah.
that had you stayed in Aptos?
I don't know. We kind of always talked about it. It's just one of those things I'd like, kind of
Yeah,
like I also want to go to Greece or the Azores.
yeah.
Just something to think about. And then I mentioned it to a couple of people, and they're like, "Well, let's make it happen." And I said,
Yeah.
"Okay, let's do that."
There you go. You've met up with some very energetic people who
Yes.
have their shirt sleeves rolled up and are working hard, and you're right there with them, Chris.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, yeah. I have to. We got to keep busy.
Yeah.
We've gone camping a few times, and we have not been over to the coast. We need to do that because that's not that far. I mean, you grew up in Eastern Oregon,
Yes, I did.
so
Yeah,
you know what Oregon's about.
the high desert and the eastern part at that time was much, much more conservative than was the coastal part, the section there, Portland, Salem, all of those areas. Um, I don't know what it's like now. I'm guessing with it being a farming community, it's still conservative. But I
I
remember
think it
my
is. And in fact, Alec was talking about the Republican representatives in Congress there. They're all really weak. He kept saying in Eastern Oregon, they're weak. I thought that was interesting.
hmm,
Why, I don't know.
hmm. Well, I'd like
So
to
anyway,
learn more about that. Maybe they're just too busy farming, trying to keep
I don't know.
keep food
I
on their
want you to get
table.
up here and come see us and visit us and see. Everybody is so nice up here.
Uh,
That's one thing from Santa Cruz. Nobody wishes you a good day. They're, grumbly and just doing their business. Here, everybody is so kind.
nice. You picked a good spot on the earth to move to. I'm glad.
I think so. I think so. I know. I wasn't. I mean, I knew it was good because we've been up here because of Mark's dad, but it's way better than I expected. And my friends really help. Yeah. There's a good core group of 6 of us that are always together. It's fun.
Excellent. I have a call here from someone that is Steve Wozniak from Concord. You want to take it?
Sure.
Okay. Hello? Can you hear us?
I can.
Oh, I think this is my next guest. This is Marta Buliach. Marta,
It is.
you've got Kris Kirby on the line here with you. She's an activist just like you. So I'm so glad you two can meet. Marta, do you have any questions for Kris? She uprooted
I
and
don't. I just came a minute early on the show, but Kris, thanks for all your work.
okay.
Oh no, thank you. Yeah. So Becky, I was listening about the battery things. There's none of that going on up here.
Oh, well, keep your eye open because it is happening nationwide.
Right,
So,
and it might be. I just don't know about it. I do know that over in Prineville, which is east of Bend, there's a huge. God, what are they? Where they're sucking up all the energy for the data centers,
yes.
and
We're
I know that that's a problem.
yeah. Well, likely there are battery energy projects going there. Kris, we just went off the air. So,
Okay.
I'm gonna you're welcome to stay on and listen to Marta and Ilea Buliach, they're talking about, and this may be of interest to you coming from Grants Pass, the city of Watsonville just passed their first ever homeless strategic plan. You're welcome to stay on the line if you want,
Yeah,
or listen.
no, I'm gonna get off, but I will. I still get a lot of emails and stuff about what's going on down there. I will put an eye out because the homeless is a problem here for sure.
Yeah. Grants Pass made the news with that court case.
Definitely did.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Becky.
All right, thank you,
Take
Kris.
care.
You as well.
Okay, talk to you
Take
soon.
care. Say
Bye.
hello to Mark.
All right, and you today. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. So, Marta, we are not on the air, but we can talk.
Okay.
And
Sure.
I really want to thank you. Oh, I think Ilea is on here too. Let me bring him in.
Wonderful.
Hello?
Hi, Ilea. This is Becky. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. And Marta's on the line with us too. So,
Wonderful.
We are off the air, but let me make sure we are. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Can you hear me, Marta?
I sure can.
Oh, good. Because I pushed a button to make sure we were not out on the air. Sometimes it does go out, and it muted you. So I'm sorry. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad that I'm hearing you again. So I'd like you to touch upon your assessment of the situation in Watsonville. I know you were both at that meeting, that city council meeting, and Marta, you were quoted in the Pajaronian. None of the other news sources quoted what you said, and I understand that there was not much public comment.
That's correct. Marta, correct me if I'm wrong, there were only two speakers.
There were only two speakers.
Wow.
And one of them was the county supervisor, Felipe Hernandez. So, in terms of regular public comment, Marta was the only one.
Oh, my gosh.
And part of that was because they put it during the afternoon agenda session.
Yeah.
That was really inappropriate.
And that was actually manipulated and rigged because, they said, oh, we're going to do the presentation and then answer some questions and let public input. And then once those council members, some of the council members got hold on it, they weren't asking questions. They started grandstanding and then becoming part of the presentation complex instead of just like asking a question and then letting the public chime in.
Yeah. We've got 15
by
seconds.
Then the time ran out, because the afternoon session's under a time frame because they go into closed session. So that was all a contrived setup there.
We're going to go on the air now, and I hope you'll say what you just said on the air.
I think he will.
I'll come up with something.
All right, good. Well, thank you for joining me here in the second hour of Community Matters. I'm your host, Becky Steinbruner, for the next hour, and I'm honored to have via phone Marta Buliach and Ilea Buliach, your brother and sister, and I am so grateful to your parents for raising such great people. I also know your brother Nick, and all of you are model citizens. You're active, you're informed, and you stand up for what is right, and I really want to thank you for that.
Well, Becky, it actually sounds like an accurate description of yourself.
Exactly.
Sure.
Thank you for creating a platform for the public.
Well, I'm very, very honored to be here on Community Matters and be part of the Santa Cruz Voice. You know, it's something that many of us in this community feel passionately about, that there must be a local community voice platform. So that's why we're here, and thank you for joining me today. For those of you just tuning in the second hour, welcome. You're listening to Community Matters. And I want to welcome my two guests for the next hour, Marta Buliach and Ilea Buliach. You both have lived in Watsonville and grew up there, but I'd like you to each introduce yourself, and then our topic today is the Watsonville City Council's approval of the city's first homelessness strategic plan. And I know that you were both involved in that, and Marta, you were quoted in the Pajaronian. So Marta, let's go to you first. Introduce yourself and then toss the ball to Ilea.
Sure. So my name is Marta Buliach. I'm actually a resident of the East Bay, but I grew up in Watsonville, went to school there, and am basically a part-time resident there. And I got really engaged in the public issues just by virtue of, with my family, and being very concerned about what's happening in the community. So thank you for having me here today.
Thank you. Ilea.
My name's Ilea Buliach. I'm a Watsonville resident, and I have the distinction of having participated in quite a bit of the public process in Watsonville, most recently regarding homeless matters. And I'm here today to provide some information on recent developments on this topic, the Watsonville Homeless Action Plan / Strategic Plan.
Thank you. Thank you both for being here and for your good work. For listeners, I have interviewed Marta and Ilea in previous programs, so you can look at the archive on the santacruzvoice.com website, scroll down under current shows to the list of all the current shows, click on Community Matters, and you will find there the interview recording of our interview with Marta and Ilea, talking about a facet of this, an encampment, a low barrier homeless navigation center, busing people over from Pajaro across the river from Monterey County and setting this up in Watsonville. Today we're going to move along because I'm feel free to talk about that as much or as little as you want to. The program today really is yours. So I want you to feel free to talk about what it is you feel is most important, the way the council ran the meeting, as we were talking a little bit about the break, let me just say a little bit about what the Paharonian quoted you, Marta, as saying that Watsonville has a history of tolerating negative impacts of homelessness on surrounding neighborhoods and businesses. The plan fails to address crime and code violations that directly harm the community. Local businesses report shrinkage, human waste on private property, threats of violence and customers being driven away, and you added that the plan offers no accountability to the perpetrators. That is not law enforcement. It does not deter repeat offenders or protect law-abiding residences or businesses. And while the council did not address the concerns about enforcement in the passage of the plan, they did agree to switch the name to the Homelessness Strategic Plan. Did they address anything that you or any other of the meager public that showed up?
Well, let me set some context first before we go into that. You probably got a diverse audience, and somebody tuning in might want to get some bearings. So I had several comments. The widespread chronic homelessness and related adverse impacts we see have been a hallmark of this state for this century, and everybody sees it. We all see it, and then it seems permanent and unfixable. You can't help but wonder why. Okay, my experience has been that if you sit in at enough public meetings and election events, you start saying that homelessness is not a simple subject. It's complicated. Things get bogged down. All right, that's sort of the context for our century. But in California, the optics of these massive encampments, the urban blight and the sanitation, the decay and the crime have been a global embarrassment. Mm-hmm. And our governor, Gavin Newsom, the legislature, started feeling the effects of that. And there were two things that they did in this past decade then that demonstrated now their reaction. One was that they started passing a slew of state laws that took over preempted local zoning authority to allow homeless shelters and low-barrier navigation centers to get set up with impunity anywhere. And in conjunction with that, they ladled out over $30 billion, that's B as in Bravo, $1 billion from state funds to cities and counties all across the state to get homeless shelters quickly established, up and running to start mitigating this spectacle. And that process culminated earlier this year with the final zoning approval after a process of appeals of a low-barrier navigation center to be built behind the Westview Presbyterian Church on West Riverside Drive in Watsonville. So it's in the aftermath of a two and a half year bruising fight between a vulnerable neighborhood and then a non-responsive, non-representational city government that had their hearts set on railroading that through, that got approved. And in the aftermath, the city government officials then set up this homeless task force, over 30 people plus city staff, representing a spectrum of the community, to come up with this document. And I just want to get this clarified, because what is their final product? It was originally called the Homeless Action Plan. It's been subsequently edited by vote of the council to the Homeless Strategic Plan. Oh. It's a 45-page document. It outlines the approach that the city government will use in reducing homelessness and managing community impact. The three priorities they have: end suffering on the street, that is, get the people off the street, get them the nutrition, health care, and shelter they need. Share and protect public spaces, that's then to restore measures of civilization. then create opportunity. What they mean by that is prevent people from becoming homeless, help them to become employable, help them to get replacement housing. And so what they did is they broke that down. They were going to tackle it through 4 categories. 1, housing. They resolved they need to increase more housing at all affordability levels. Number 2, policy and funding. That was heavily dominated by a discussion of interacting with county funding resources and an entity called Continuum of Care, which really deserves its own radio slot. And then prevention and resources. And so what that is the how you go about preventing homelessness, and that was heavily dominated by a discussion of how you partner with nonprofit organizations to assist in prevention, such as helping people cover the rent or dealing with medical issues. And then the last category was management enforcement, about how you then uphold that thing of sharing and protecting public spaces. So that, and I will say this, the document is fairly thorough in that it sets up these matrices and grids about how that you will have regular conferences with the department heads. You will have at least an annual report from the city staff to the city council on the progress they're making on achieving these goals. Okay, so nominally, looking at all of this, you'd have to say, like, what's not to like about it? Everything looks great, okay?
Yeah.
And then that culminated with, all right, the city government goes, the task force has completed its work, and now we're going to have it presented to the city council, and then there'll be public input, and then the city council can go ahead to do a vote as to accept it, modify it, amend it, or just reject it. And so, well, that's where it got interesting. And Marta, you can go ahead and describe how they set up the council meeting, where and when, and the interesting features about that.
Well, this is a critical meeting, and they held it in the afternoon before their closed session. So that was kind of bogus, in my opinion, because it didn't really allow the concerned people to attend, because that's right during work hours. And I think that was by intent. And instead of really allowing a dialogue to happen or questions to the staff regarding this, several council members just started grandstanding and talking about how great everything was. And that wasn't their job. Their job was to scrutinize this. And in particular, where I spoke, which I was very frustrated about, is how the public works director glossed over the crime. While she mentioned it, there's a significant magnitude in these numbers. There are about 1,700 police calls and for businesses regarding as you mentioned earlier, report shrinkage, and I quote, human waste on private property, threats of violence, customers being driven away. For the reported crime, the estimate of losses to these businesses, to 9 businesses, due to repairs, security, and loss of revenue, is about $469,000. That's reported.
Wow.
And so the fact that they make that so light is really quite problematic. And so one of the things that is so frustrating is they are very well aware that there is more crime that goes all the way from Annie Glass, that's located on 129 Riverside, on Walker Street, the industrial zone. People have been calling, and they've been very frustrated because the police will come and, as some people feel, like make the businesses feel like they're the problem versus the people that are doing the damage. And so there's a lot of frustration for the businesses who just stopped calling the police because nothing is happening. So the figure here is a terrible underestimate of what's really happening. And so that's one of the elements of frustration. Additionally, there are fire calls. So there's significant fires, that number of fires that are occurring. I think there was 1,000 calls. I just got to look at these numbers. And that's not trivial. And so there was 1,000 calls, homelessness-related incidents. There's a total of 1,028. And the public works director just glossed over this. And yet this is what we look for. And this section offered no accountability. Their solutions were trauma-informed skills and compassionate responses.
What does that mean?
Ilea, got any thoughts?
I've watched that personally in action. Let me describe this. At a local retail business, there was appeared to be a homeless individual that was becoming disruptive. The police were called. Okay, the 2 police officers came there, and then they stood there and they were having this dialogue to inquire, like, what is the person upset about? Why are they disrupting things in the store? And what could they do to help the individual? So you start going, you go, wow, somebody's coming in there disrupting the store, and you're having sort of like a psychological rap session? Well, that's not to belittle the process or anything, but, when it's all said and done, the fact that the shoplifting and the vandalism and the disruption keeps happening, I started going like, well, okay, that's a worthy procedure and goal, but when you have a person who actually is running the retail operation, and you look at that, you start going like, somewhere along the way, something seems to have been omitted or discarded, and that is like, but how do you get it so that then this asset for the community, a retail operation, doesn't get impacted? And, to establish context, it was a month ago I saw a big news item in the city of Portland, Oregon. That's a big city. Mm-hmm. Walmart announced they were shutting down both of their stores there.
Wow.
Walmart shutting down stores? Well, when you get on into the link, and you see Walmart says, well, the stores weren't meeting our financial targets, right? Mm-hmm. But, okay, that's just corporate PR handling. But when the journalists went to the actual retail customers, then they started talking about the shoplifting, the crime, and the fact that nothing gets done about it. That was the real driver of why the Walmart shuts down. Well, some people, they're not sympathetic with Walmart, but it was when those retail customers were interviewed, then talking about for their neighborhoods, the distance it's going to be to get access to the pharmacy and retail products that they were able to get there. And so all of a sudden a retail desert is manifesting. Mm-hmm. And Marta could give you some narratives about what small shopkeepers are dealing with in the city, like the San Francisco comparable city, or San Jose, for this, so that you chase away Walmart, it's not going to get resolved by thinking that small shopkeepers are going to take up the slack, because Marta can fill in on that. I'll let you take care of that one, Marta.
Well, I also want to talk about other shops, too, including grocery stores in the San Francisco and here in the East Bay as well. The second that they're getting this type of leakage of daily theft, et cetera, you're soon going to have not only retail desert, but food deserts, and that's really detrimental to communities. Mm-hmm. And when you talk to small businesses, a lot of them are just closing shop because they can't afford to hire a security guard. And that's really incredible. I've seen, for example, in the Mission and 24th Street, where it's quite dire, the theft is unbelievable. People just go into the CVS and steal your sundries and then put a blanket right in front of the store and start selling them at a fraction of the cost.
Oh, my goodness.
And so you see a security guard there, and they're really not doing anything. If they ask somebody to empty out their pockets, it can be a hostile situation, and people are coming in with glad bags and just stealing things. And one of the elements that was really interesting during the last council meeting was Jimmy Dutra, Councilmember Jimmy Dutra, discussed the recurring encampment problem at the Corralitos Creek. So I decided to do a field investigative expedition to Corralitos Creek and the adjacent
Marta,
Safeway.
you're talking about the Corralitos Creek segment that's there on Airport Boulevard, Holohan Road, in the vicinity of that Safeway supermarket at the Freedom Center Shopping Center.
Exactly. So Ilea and I went there, and first and foremost, the encampments are there. Dutra made a comment that he said something to the effect that it was recurring, it could be worse. Now, it was really bad before, so I'm not sure how bad it was because I didn't descend down into the embankment to determine the magnitude of it, but you could see it from the road. There are several tents, et cetera.
I can give you a little bit of clarification. Last year, over a span of 16 months, maybe longer, it's private property there. It's a private property owner. It's an investment group, but they allowed a improvised encampment there. That I think it was what was visible was over 40 tents, and there were even cabins that were built out of framing lumber, and God even knows how many more tents were down into the actual channel. So last year it was way worse than what you can visibly see now, but I don't know what was in the actual channel. But here's the key point, this is at that point when you actually see the tents popping up. It's like this is a recurring phenomenon. You start seeing the tents pop up and you go like, is somebody going to clear it out? And then you'll notice it. Nothing gets done until there's like 60 tents. And only then, after it's like unbearable morbidity, does then announcement, we got to do it. And then they go through $200,000 of law enforcement and dump fees and cleanup costs to get it cleared out. And then we're not going to allow this again. And that was just last year, okay? And yet now those tents are coming back, right, in plain view of everybody.
I've seen that. The report said that this point-in-time count. That the numbers are decreasing, and some there was some question about, well, where are these people going that were here before and we're not counting them now. And we do have a caller. Let me know if you want to take the caller.
Sure.
Sure, if somebody's got a real-time interaction here, go ahead.
Okay. All right. But I would like to come back to that point-in-time count, too. So we'll bring the caller in. Thank you so much. Let's see. Hello. Can you hear us?
Yes. Hello, Becky. How are you?
I am well. Do you want to identify yourself or no?
Yes, absolutely. This is Councilmember Casey Clark with the City of Watsonville.
Thank you very much for calling in, Councilmember Clark. What do you want to say?
Thank you for having me.
What would you like to say?
I would like to, if it's not a bother to you, I would like to, be a part of this discussion for as long as I have.
That would be marvelous.
The more the merrier.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I want to kind of piggyback on a couple of points that, Marta and Ilea have made so far. I've been listening. I'm driving from the Bay Area back into Watsonville right now. And, one of the things about the enforcement, I felt that staff did not arrange this properly. They did not give us enough time to go over everything that we should have gone. They gave us an hour. As Marta said, it was before our
evening session or closed session. Yeah.
And by the time we got to enforcement, there just really wasn't much time left, and that's what I'm most interested in. All these other three pillars with housing and all that stuff that isn't in the city's purview. And as far as I'm concerned, it's just a bunch of glad handing with a bunch of nonprofits that have really done nothing to help this particular situation. And, I look at the state budget, and we have 23 or 24 billion with a B dollars unaccounted for that were headed off to, nonprofit that were supposed to solve the homeless problem in the state of California. Well, clearly that did not work, right? Yeah. These people are not held accountable. So not only is the homeless population not held accountable, which just frost my cookies, because that's all I can say on the air. But neither of these people that are being paid gobs of money that are supposed to be helping us. And in my personal opinion, if they actually fix the problem, then they would not need to exist, which means they would no longer be making money, which means that their executive directors would be making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, and sometimes $400,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there dovetails perfectly with what was the recurring issue that was brought up in all of the public meetings regarding that tiny village low barrier navigation center behind the Presbyterian Church, because all of the affected neighbors there, they saw the way that the city of Santa Cruz handled that.
Mm-hmm.
The city of Santa Cruz guided the establishment of the homeless shelters on Coral Street there off of River Street. And those are state-of-the-art, that's a state-of-the-art homeless shelter, the dormitory, the mess hall, the quad court, and all of the counseling service they offer.
Oh, what's
Sorry,
that?
someone's alarm's going off. Sorry.
And then you start going like, and that's a nonprofit organization. It's got iconic political leaders on the board of directors. It's well-funded. You start going like, thank God, we got our solution. And yet, Coral Street, Limekiln Road, and the other streets, they're saturated with permanent camping tents. You got open-air drug dealing. You got stabbings. You got spillover of crime. And then you start going, what went wrong?
Yeah.
And when you try to get some response from any of those, of accepting of accountability and resolving the thing from the civic leaders, it's all a case of finger pointing and deflection. Okay, so the affected neighborhood around this proposed homeless shelter here that's coming in now
in Watsonville.
In Watsonville,
Yes.
They're like, we don't want to become Coral Street. We like our neighborhood. We don't want to become Coral Street. And the scary thing is, but if you have all this funding and money that's getting pumped in for a nonprofit to assist with homelessness, well, if you solve homelessness, they don't get the funding. And so I can't help but conclude that in Santa Cruz, the entire food chain has evolved so that they always have homeless people there so that the nonprofit can always keep functioning.
The financial incentive is significant. And just to give you a hint of our future on 2nd Street in that area where they cited the Low Barrier Navigation Center with fraudulent zoning, is what happens at the nonprofit Loaves and Fishes. So that's also on 2nd Street. That was cited in, I think it was the 90s, in violation of the zoning code. Is that right, Ilea?
The exact date I'm not sure about, but an institutional feeding station was not a permitted use and still isn't a permitted. Well, it was not a permitted use under the zoning at that time. The city falsified the zoning administration to let a non-permitted use get established on a residentially zoned parcel. Okay, you might think, well, okay, I mean, it was they got growing pains and as a temporary use, and then they're going to get somewhere, but they have been unrepentant. They got set up, and even though they had a use permit, they openly and notoriously violate their use permit. They still keep violating the use permit, and despite complaints filed, city does nothing about it. So, Marta, you can go ahead and elaborate on how you analyze this for benefit of the council members and the public at that last council meeting.
And I want to ask Council Member Clark, how come this is still going on? Hello, Council Member Clark?
Different varying opinions. My particular opinion is I feel that our planning department really does not work for the betterment of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not working for the betterment of the businesses, and it's not working for the betterment of the people. We have some people that ride roughshod in that department. They do what they think is best, not what is necessarily legal. And that's how we end up in situations like this, where we have organizations that are just able to get away with murder But then, you've got regular businesses that are dying to survive that we can't even get the police department to protect.
I guess it comes down to, though, you got to count to 4. It really comes down to there just aren't 4 votes on that council to just resolve the issue. The 4 votes are content with the status quo.
That is true.
They're absolutely content with it, and nor do they want to be bothered with it, is my experience.
And
we are hearing through. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, in my observation, your county council, your council, legal counsel, is not always there on the spot either.
No, and I often wonder who our legal counsel is working for, themselves or the city.
I've wondered that too. So, Marta, I interrupted you.
We were hearing through the channels that there's some council members, I don't believe Casey Clark is one of them, that still want homeless people to set up their improvised encampments along various waterways. And this is in Watsonville. There are 3 in particular: Pajaro River, the Corralitos Creek, and the slough. It's at the Watsonville slough. And the word is the majority want this practice of the encampments to be abated, but it's really remains to be seen how durable and secure this commitment is, because the reality is where there are those encampments along the waterways, the crime is significant. Staples, Food Max is by the Watsonville Slough. People are just walking in there and stealing things and waving at the checkers as they go out the door. This is downtown businesses. I mentioned Annie Glass, all these businesses on Walker and in Riverside Drive. They're getting impacted all the time. They're just tired of contacting the police because nothing is going to happen. And the same thing with Corralitos Creek, where I cited the Safeway issue. So, and going back to Loaves and Fishes too, that's a significant concern. As Ilea alluded to, they're constantly violating their conditions of approval. They converted required on-site parking into storage and dining uses. They caused chronic double parking and red zone parking on the street. During feeding times, the operations spill out, results in crime, open drug use. Even one of the kids and the families that were talking at the city council meetings in opposition to the tiny village, the kid presented saying he gets dizzy because he's smelling drugs and has to sit down. Wow. God knows what they're smoking, right? And there's loitering on the sidewalks in front of businesses. The crime to the business is significant, and in the parks. So what's also frustrating is the people in this community around 2nd Street on the west side, they want to use the parks. And, they've tried to do like Easter egg hunts for their kids, and they find needles in the park. And so one of the other council members is more concerned about tan bark in her kids' park. But, on the west side, we're worried about needles. Let's talk about what the real problem is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Clark, what is your assessment of this homelessness strategic plan? What do you think? Is it going to solve anything?
I was actually involved, the only council member who volunteered to be involved in the creation of this. And I chose to be a part of the enforcement section. And we came up with some wonderful things. It really all starts with enforcement. Unfortunately, the powers that be, the certain city staff that was put in charge of the plan in its totality, they're the reason why it was set up the way it was. They're the reason why, certain photos couldn't be put into the report. There were photos that were taken of appalling, abhorrent things. The police and these nonprofits allowing people to continue in these terrible, terrible situations with these low quality of life. And we were told, it might be too offensive. We don't want to do that. And it's like, but this is what's really happening to people. And there's nothing more offensive to me personally than allowing someone to continue having these terrible, terrible drug addiction and to where they have zero quality of life and they're unable to advocate for themselves. But we were more concerned with not offending people by certain photos that would actually show you what really is going on out there. So, though I was involved, though I walked and used my own shoe leather to, speak with all of these local businesses, and do a survey with them and, ask them all the questions that went into this, the report about how much money have you been spending in the last year and this and that, what sort of things do you have to deal with? I saw it myself, but God forbid we let everybody else see it. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, it reeks of an undercurrent of nasty politics where it's like, look at what we're doing. We're doing so much, but we're not really going to do anything at all. And that's why during that council meeting towards the end, I asked, 2 years ago, we talked about a population within the city of Watsonville. The 5% is what they call it. And in my opinion, it's more than 5%, but they claim that only 5% of the homeless population in Watsonville do the most amount of damage. Okay. To me, it's more like 85 to 90%, but that's just me. But anyways, so, what have we done? We made a pledge years ago to deal with it. And all they could tell me is it was like 32 or 34 people that have been identified that were the constant fire starters, the constant people who were always causing theft, shooting up in the streets and passing out needles in their arms, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Only one of them, out of all of them in 2 years, only one we know of has actually received services and has gotten help.
Oh.
Now that tells me that's just a bunch of crap, and we rely on this thing called care court, which is just a farce.
Yeah.
Care court is as useless as, an ice cube in hell, right? And it just, it's all this virtue signaling, and we're not actually helping the people. And in turn, it's not just the people on the streets that are suffering, but the people around them, the people that they burgle, that they vandalize, that they rape, that they, harass and yell and scream at and chase. It's maddening to me. It's absolutely maddening.
And the crime is fascinating. Casey had. Why don't you tell us about the dead bodies and your predictions about that, Casey? Because I think people didn't listen to you until, lo and behold, they discovered the dead bodies on the levee.
Well, so let me talk about the fact that, I'm not this individual who thinks that all homeless people are not worthy, right? I think the opposite, which is why I'm so impassioned about this. And in my walking in town and dealing, with business and whatnot, I know a lot of these people, and I actually get to know them. Okay, I know them by name. I know their stories. I know their family history. And so one of the things that, I hear a lot is how dangerous the levee is. And this is not just people living near the levee. These are people who have had real life firsthand experience. And, I've been told about the deaths that happen on the levee and about how they go unreported for various reasons, right? Whether it be nefarious, like, someone dies from drug trafficking or human trafficking, to just an overdose or death from exposure. Most people are disposed of on the levee without anybody knowing about it. Any official knowing about it.
Wow.
And so, I kept raising this to the city, and they kept going, no. You don't know what you're talking about. We're not going to waste our time with it. And, then all of a sudden bodies start popping up on the Monterey County side. Because I wanted Watsonville and the Santa Cruz County Sheriff to go out and, start searching the levee, especially since we're going to be doing this big perf mupping, right? Let's find the people. If we find anybody, let's give them a proper burial. Let's try to, reach out to their families and loved ones. No. We have more important things to do. Go is essentially how I'm treated. And then all of a sudden these bodies start popping up on the Monterey County side. So then I start, digging at the city staff again, going, hey, hello. Oh, well, that's not our jurisdiction. That's the Monterey County side. That's not us. And I'm like, so you're saying that, what's happening on that side of the river and they're starting to find the bodies that like a 20-foot span of water is going to keep that from happening on our side?
Yes.
No, they just turn their nose up and they want to ignore it. They don't want to do the work. They
And
don't
how
want to
hypocritical
admit
that is. It's very hypocritical in the stance of the tiny village, which is bringing people from the Monterey County side into Watsonville. So when that rhetoric is happening, they're saying, oh, this is a sister town and we have to deal with this jointly. But when the bodies show up, they're distant. Now I have to bring up something else that's really troubling to me is the environmental nightmare. So the San Jose Mercury actually had an article last week that said San Jose says homeless encampments are producing 90% of waterway pollution. And they did this as they removed 3.6 million pounds of trash. And this environmental nightmare is very clear along these waterways. And we saw evidence of homeless along the levee. We saw backhoes that they had stolen from engineering companies to redo the roads, and they excavated caverns in the levee to stash stolen vehicles.
What?
This is a compromise of the levee integrity. And so, the levees have busted before, so this is really terrible. And then, Public Works is really ignoring the environmental nightmares happening. They're netting fish. Like, you can't fish there. There's protected steel runs there. Yet they let everything there go. There's constant fires, warming fires. There's goats. There's chickens. That whole ecosystem has been trashed. And I've seen it in San Jose as well. And so, we're just pretending that the environment no longer matters. And yet, not too long ago, I don't know if it was like 20 years ago, we were concerned about the three-toed salamander lasting. If that was there, it's no longer there. And there's just no way that this environmental impact, they'll not address it. They just pretend it no longer matters. And so I feel the city has turned its head away from crime, away from the businesses surviving, and away from the environmental nightmare. Now, Ilea, I know you had some thoughts about that as well.
And real quick, Ilea, I'm going to interject real quickly. Not only is the city not enforcing this environmental nightmare, I personally have called fishing game and have not seen hide nor hair of them, just FYI.
Wow.
And this was quite some time ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to do, Marta did the field investigation on Wednesday when she went to check out those improvised encampments now on the banks of the Corralitos Creek there opposite Safeway. After that, she went into Safeway because we had heard from somebody who shops there that, have you seen what's going on there? They're locking up everything. And so when Marta and I went into there and we were going down the aisles, well, Marta, go ahead and give us a rundown description of what we saw.
Sure. Many of these innocuous items are under lock and key, and these items are like detergents, dish soap, toothbrushes, toothpaste, shampoo. So if you go shopping, all this is under lock and key. So you have to press a button. So some employee has to come to open this up to get you a toothbrush.
A toothbrush.
Yeah, all of this is. It's all under lock and key. It's staggering. And so acquaintances have told us that they observe this, and this again, the checkers are telling them that the homeless people walk in, steal the merchandise, because I imagine they have to open up those cases too for someone who's homeless and says, I want that toothbrush, and they just take this, steal it, and walk confidently as they exit the store. So what I see that is it's going to be massive leakage. The city is indifferent to it. And often I hear, and I haven't heard this from council members, but other individuals in defense of this have said, oh, it's all insured. And that is just farcical.
Goodness.
That is just ridiculous. This is why these businesses are leaving, and they're doing nothing to stem this crime. And so we were just stunned. We bumped into shoppers that we knew who told us how this has all changed. And, it's a real drag for the people shopping there. It's a real drag for the people who work there. It creates a real existential crisis that the select council members and city manager are completely indifferent to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who wants to see a Safeway supermarket disappear? It's like we're that's such a social, cultural, economic amenity for a community. You go like, I don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
So, and to add to that, last time I was in Staples in Watsonville, the Post-it notes were locked up. Post-it notes. And I asked the lady checking me out, I said, why are these locked up? She said, people walk out with them like there's no tomorrow. And the Staples is near another known encampment, over by Doctors on Duty and off of Main Street there.
The Watsonville slough area.
And, yep. And she said, I have no idea why these people keep taking it. I don't know if they're using them to like roll joints or cigarettes, because it's just a Post-it note, The other thing.
Marta, go ahead and elaborate. What are these people doing with these sundries, these innocuous items?
Well, in San Francisco, what we see in the Mission is a new economy has emerged in that they steal these sundries from CVS and they go out on Mission Street and they set up a blanket and then they sell these things for a fraction of the cost. And so it's just freshly stolen merchandise, and it just gets resold 25 feet from the door of CVS.
So the way it works,
and then that gives them cash to buy their drugs.
Yeah. In San Francisco, the drugs are really cheap too. They're the
you go in there and you steal a $5 toothbrush and you steal like a $1.99 tube of toothpaste. You steal some shampoo. You steal some detergent. Okay, you put it all in a bag. You walk out, and then you go out there and then you sell the $5 toothbrush that's still in its brand new blister pack, right? You sell it for $1 or 50 cents. And the homeless people that are doing this, see, they're just like laughing, going, it didn't cost me anything. I don't really care what I sell it for, just as long as I could get enough money to buy the can of beer or some dope for tonight. And then tomorrow, I guess I'll just settle into my groove and go pilfer some more sundries. And so now the stores, and you start wondering, why is the toothpaste locked up? Why are the toothbrushes locked up? But then, like a package of binder paper or a paperback book is not taken, but the toothpaste and the toothbrushes, well, those are the things that sell readily on renegade bootleg street vendors market. That's what's going on there. So the Post-it notes, those are marketable.
We've got about 7 minutes. And I want to focus on what do you think can be improved upon? Councilmember Clark, has there been any discussion with the police chief? I know you've got a new one.
Another problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the police are just as inactive as the city staff. And here's the issue. There are multiple layers. Yes, we have, ADAs and judges that are just releasing these people back out on the streets. We have a jail system that was turning people away. You couldn't even pick someone up on the streets in Watsonville and have them put into jail for whatever offense because they were being turned away for medical reasons. The jail nurse would say, oh, this person's blood pressure is too high. Well, of course, they're on crack, I witnessed a jail nurse taking someone's blood pressure with their arms or with their hands still handcuffed. So they're sitting there and their arms are behind their back and, they just got arrested. So they're going to be, their blood pressure's up, all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, no, you got to take them to the hospital. We're not going to accept them. And you can't take that person to Dominican. You have to take them to the hospital in the jurisdiction that you pick them up. So now that officer has to drive all the way back to Watsonville to get that person cleared. And at that point, it's like, why? Like we've had an officer off the streets for hours at that point with all the traffic, right? And so because of this, now the police have become complacent. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to spend their entire shift on the freeway, Highway 1, right? And so there have been many times that I have had personally dealt with these issues where I call the police saying, this person just stole from us or this person just lit this on fire. And police shows up and they go, what do you want us to do about it?
Wow.
Yeah. So I no longer rely on the police for that.
Okay. What's the solution here?
Part of the solution, I think, is that everyone keeps on repeating housing first, and that's not working.
Yeah.
For these people that have addiction issues, we need to address that first. And so we're not making that a requirement. We just keep on saying, give them a home. And so that's what they're doing at the tiny village. Just let them have a home. Well, what's going to happen there? So I can show you what happens in San Francisco is dead bodies are coming out overdosed in all of these hotels, et cetera, in San Francisco. Francisco because they're not dealing with the underlying addiction. And in San Francisco, they've priced the fentanyl so low that people will actually take Caltrain from San Jose to go get high and go home. And so that's a problem. And the housing, and this is what this whole strategic plan was, just build more housing. And Ilea, talk about the zoning code they want to talk about there too in that plan.
Well, are you referring to the downtown specific plan?
And everything in this strategic action plan that they say that they want to change to make zoning easier to create more homeless shelters?
Well, okay, that right there, we don't got much time, but I'll condense it. That the tiny village was processed with fraudulent zoning administration. That church was required to get a use permit in order to condition how it operates in order to accommodate placing that homeless shelter there. The city staff ended up just making false assertions about what state law preempts, and then they gave the zoning clearance for there. So Tiny Village got established in violation of the Watsonville City Zoning Code in broad daylight, and the appeal was denied by the Planning Commission. It was denied by the majority of the City Council. The newspapers didn't want to cover the underlying illicit nature of the whole thing. So Watsonville city government got away with the crime of the century. But guess what? Inside of this strategic plan, they got the audacity and the nerve to say that we need to amend our local zoning codes to harmonize with state law after they just finished thumbing their nose at state law.
Oh, my gosh.
How do you top that for absurdity?
Well, it's picking the words you want to suit yourself, huh?
Yes.
They started off with, and as always, this tiny village, it's all about the money. What you have is $10 million of free money coming down from the skies that's going to land into a bunch of captive nonprofits. And so the Watsonville city government officials, they reverse engineered from the predetermined outcome to fill in the blanks on how to just make it happen.
Councilmember Clark.
And don't forget all the money from Medi-Cal and
Right.
Santa Cruz County and Monterey County. They're also pitching money in.
Yes.
Yeah, that total tiny village cost now with that extra 1 point something million that Monterey secured, we're at like $13 million. We're close to that.
$13 million,
oh my
looks like.
Goodness.
Yeah.
And
And
they're
climbing
hideous.
fast.
Oh my goodness. Councilmember Clark, I want to thank you for calling in because you are an elected official there. Can you order any performance audits of, say, the planning department, these people who are allowing these fraudulent things to happen?
I've tried, and this is something that I've witnessed for years and years, and I have many friends that are business owners, and I'm involved in stuff myself. I've seen it firsthand, and I've tried, and, you know, things are kept from us, you know, on council, and certain things are brought to light, but then it's usually like brushed under the rug, or it's never brought up on an agenda item, which is very frustrating because we as the council do not control the agenda. And so all I can do is just talk to people face to face, go on the radio, speak to the news media. I do what I can. But it's frustrating when, you don't have the support of the majority of council because this isn't what they care about, right? They don't care about the health of the city and the businesses.
Yeah.
And, Becky, thank you so much for taking my call.
Thank you.
And, I mean, if we had 4 hours, the four of us would be able to fill that time. And I know we can kind of shot stuff at you, but thank you so much.
Thank you. And, I just want to say that I just learned that the mayor of Watsonville, Maria Orozco, is the analyst for 4th District County Supervisor Felipe Hernandez. That seems like a conflict of interest.
Correct.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
we've got...
according to our attorney, she says it's not.
Wow. I can't
don't know
believe
how,
that.
but she says it's not.
Yeah. Well, Councilmember Clark, thank you for calling in. Ilea and Marta Buliach, thank you for calling in. You've got 10 seconds to say goodbye and the last bit you want to say. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for having us. And I look forward to the next Community Matters update that we might have.
All right. Thank you very much.
Have a blessed day, everyone.
Thank you so much, all of you. We're off the air. I just really want to thank you all for your good work. It will prevail. It's just a lot of work to do, but we'll make a difference. Thank you.
Yeah. The thing is that we might prevail over what we're seeking for, but I do believe though that it ultimately does make society better, even just by the virtue of trying.
Yes, I believe that too. Thank you very much. I've got to clear out here for the next host. Thank you so much, Marta and Ilea. Thank you.
Take care.
You as well.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello. Let's see.
Cancellation and copying.